afternoon. Good afternoon. Well, early evening to you, right, Malva?
Yes, yes. My day is just about to start.
Really? You one of the
If you know
hottest
what I
working
mean.
men. You one of the hottest working men I know. But anyway,
Absolutely.
that's your Friday day, right?
Yes, yes. Official
Wonderful.
Friday. I'm acting CEO of Renaissance today.
Oh, you kidding? That's free
Serious.
promo for that free promo for
Yeah.
Renaissance, though.
I know my wife well doesn't want to hear it, but I mean he knows that for sure.
No, but he in transit and you can take the in on the road. Take on the road today.
All right.
Renaissance can be a hot spot. So that's a
Very
good spot to be.
yes, very hard.
So for those who don't know, what is Renaissance again?
Renaissance is a local club in Liberia, one of the best spots. If you want all the G's in town, you should be at Renaissance every
Wow.
night. And it's the balls. They have people. Someone told me they have a can of ladies. It starts boiling at 2 a.m.
Really? Wow.
Really? Yeah.
Okay.
So it's for the big boys and big girls in town.
All right. That's cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. But sometimes we don't have filter in terms of how people associate. So sometimes some real young people can be in some of those spots. I hope Mobile is trying to regulate that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
it's good. They have security there too. So
Wonderful. So greetings to people watching. It's exciting to be back. We've been away for a couple of weeks. A lot of different things been going on. So Mova, let's start off,
yes.
man. Where do we start from? We got some back news and we got some current news and a lot of activities going on. So, what are your thoughts right now to start off this show?
I mean, the week has been an awesome one. It's been a tough week political wise in Liberia, and the opposition is basically focused right now on itself, and the government is having somewhat a smooth sailing. Unfortunately, the government is incompetent, so they're causing their own problems. But at this stage, I mean, they should be doing everything they can to strengthen their position instead of facing the challenges they're facing. But I mean, I guess I want us to start with this whole CPP code issue. Uh,
Okay.
there's nothing more interesting to me than that. Yeah, there's nothing more interesting to me
So, what's the environment like? What is the environment like on the ground right now with all this court thing going on? What are people thinking?
Whew. I mean, the general feeling amongst Liberians is that people are disappointed that the government is not performing well, and then the opposition that should be, positioning itself to take over from the government is largely divided and going up against one of their, partners and one of the most important opposition figures. Uh, Liberians, from different walks of life, if you speak with them, I mean, they express that disappointment. So it somewhat is presenting a gloomy photo of the Liberian opposition community, and is showing to the people that we are not coming together, to form a common front and take on the government, and then in the future take on the challenges that
Yeah.
the
So,
government.
that 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 brings to mind the argument that some people are making. Oh, because the opposition can't agree, so maybe we'll just go with a messed up, confirmed incompetent government. I mean, what kind of reasoning is that? Seriously, now.
No. I don't. That reasoning is it's a propaganda from the CDC too, right? They're trying to find a loophole. They know that there is a general agreement in Liberia that the government is incompetent. They know that. But with the fight amongst opposition people, they want to ride it, like try to create some sympathy. If the people not able to even stay together, how they can run the whole country. But excuse me, of all the people in court, everyone is way more competent and able to provide better leadership than Mr. Weah, right?
Facts.
Now, the measure at which those individuals can perform better than Mr. Weah on different degrees, right? We got to recognize that because there are people, opposition leaders, that are way more prepared and that will be more impactful in government than Mr. Weah will be, right? Compared to others. Even the opposition is at different degrees and different levels,
Right.
right? But whatever way you take it, the opposition is way more ready to provide
So
leadership
so
and
how,
anything.
how do we communicate to people what democracy is about? That democracy is a competitive form of government. Um, Jeez, like that one girl was saying the other day, wow, when somebody got out there live, then people just start calling it.
Anyway, maybe sometimes when people
Let
aren't
me turn
following,
my ringer off. Yeah. So, the opposition is not necessarily one monolithic body, not one group that just is like unified and have everything the same. No, that's what democracy is about. There is competition. So the fact that people got together and wanted to be as one, but unfortunately, some people within that uniform framework of collaboration, they did not want to compete. And so people have to understand sometimes when people run away from competition, they find the different reasons to extract themselves from that, binding relationship. And that's what has happened here. So our people need to understand that.
and another thing I want to point out as they're talking about that, our people should remember that in 2011, take for example, the CDC was viciously fighting against the Liberty Party of Councillor Bromsky at the time. They called him names, even though they were all in the opposition. They wanted to come to power, but it is a general thing. The only difference here, a key difference here, is that we formed a collaboration, and then some people left the collaboration, and then started to attack, one particular member of that former collaboration of theirs,
Right.
right? That's the only difference. But opposition, we are in the opposition, but we want to remove the government, but we are selling our individual goods, right?
Right.
We
We
are
are competitive and we got to appreciate our competition. So,
We
yeah.
have to. I mean, we have to. It is not a weakness, right? But unfortunately, our people haven't reached at that stage. There's something new. It's really never happened in Liberia before. So you should also consider that.
We
And we
are
can't
we are the
allow.
we are let it stay country, let it be so. And
Yes,
let him
yes.
go in front, let him go, your time will come. That's the kind of mindset we have. So it's
The exact
understandable.
words is let bygone be bygone. Those are the exact words. Let bygone be bygone. I've heard that from the time I was born till now. It's always the same.
It's
Let
always
bygone
the
be
same.
bygone. Let bygone be bygone. And
So somebody has a
uh,
wonderful question for you. I got my own answer for it, but hey, they're asking,
mhm.
how do you know that the opposition is ready to provide better leadership? What are the indications?
Well, first off, let's compare the leaders in the various opposition blocks, right? Individually. Because look, considering Liberia's case is quite complex and unique in certain way. Most of the political parties and political structures are formed around one leader, right, who provides a general direction of whatever opposition political party you're considering, right, including my own ANC. Now, so we have to consider who the front runner is, who is the standard bearer or political leader of the various opposition political parties. So if you put Mr. Cummings up against President Weah one on one, right, leadership experience, Cummings is 100, Weah is 0. I mean, even with the president, at the president, the time of being president to that,
But
Cummings is
useless
0.
leadership doesn't matter when you really counting experience. So
Absolutely. I mean, so that's one. Two, look at discipline. Very important. Discipline, very important, right? We don't have a disciplined government. The president, unfortunately, is not even disciplined enough to stay in his office doing working hours. So the whole government is following suit.
so so before you go, Mr. Cummings has a statement he can make, right? If the
Yeah,
leader comes to work 9 o'clock, the people that will come 5 minutes to now, right? So
absolutely.
if the leader not even coming to work, you didn't go to work.
They will not come. They will not come, right? So there's no discipline. And people do things, there's no accountability. to the leader before we talk about to the general public. So if the leader holds himself accountable to the general Liberian people, then the rest of the people will follow. Mr. Weah doesn't do that. Mr. Cummings in the opposition community, he is being accountable to Liberian people. If you look at his actions, he says these things and he lives up to them. Take, for example, when he made a post about women celebrating International Women's Day, he said he will be going ahead periodically to recognize some great women in the Liberian society who have contributed better to women, to the growth of society and to women development. He continued to do that. The public may have forgotten, but he did not. He stayed true to the promise he made. That's something that is very important, accountability and then discipline again. You cannot see that with the government. That's why people die. The government say, we'll investigate, we'll hold people accountable. Nothing happens. The president doesn't come to say anything. The justice ministry says there, they don't do anything. Another proof here is what the government is doing with the whole CPP court case. The Solicitor General said to Standard Waterspoon and Spoon FM that he quashed the indictment, the initial indictment against the ANC leaders, but the Justice Minister picked it up later and then re-indicted him. The Justice Minister released a statement that he did not do that, and in fact, CFA should provide all of the evidence he has against the accused. Till date, the Justice Ministry hasn't told us anything.
So and that's bad leadership. That's bad leadership on the part of the Justice Minister. That's bad leadership.
And that was, by the way, it falls on the president because the president should ensure the Justice Minister is accountable to the Liberian people.
The president has no understanding of performance management at this point. And, so sometimes, when you have a hope, you think things can go a certain way because you believe people feel a certain way and it doesn't happen. It just reveals a lot of things to you. And so much is being revealed in the bad performance of this government, So we understand how people feel. But again, the Facebook user says Cummings is more of a calculated risk that Liberian people are ready to take. He has no public service experience. Unfortunately, I don't want to disappoint you, but most of the public service experience in Liberia is about corruption, is about lack of performance, is about incompetence, is about lack of productivity. So it is not like the 40 years that Boyka spent, or now the 16 or 20 years that we have spent as a government servant, supposed quote unquote servant, which is not, makes that much of a difference. What can you put it up against? Sadly, nothing. A lot of our people who are in public service are not really public servants. They are public masters. They operate with impunity. They make demands. They are corrupt. They utilize government resources as their own. So, public experience does not stand for much in Liberia. And additionally, we need to flip the paradigm. We really need to shift how we want governance to be. The example we have had is not the right level of public service that our people demand. It's not servant leadership. It's not modeling or behavior. It's not building systems. So we can look at that and use that as the measuring stick to say 40 years in Liberian government, 20 years in Liberian government represent a greater level of public service experience than that. We need to shift the paradigm. We need to do more things in governance, set more examples, set more processes, hold people accountable. That's the main thing that's missing, accountability and the transparency part of it. Let's use today as an example. The legislature just passed the dual citizenship amendment, whatever, to the alien nationality law. Where is that for public viewing? Where is that for public consumption so people can provide feedback? The transparency is lacking at all levels, and that's something that needs to change. So yes, Mr. Cummings is not a calculated risk, as you say. He's actually a favorable pursuit that Liberian people should pursue and seriously consider, and they should engage in. See, engagement is not one way. Everybody say, "Oh, the people in know Cummings." Way more people know Cummings than they give him credit for. That's one. Two, as much as this trial may seem, quote unquote, a hindrance, is also providing him significant exposure to the people. They are finding out the person, they're understanding the case. And many of our people, though not educated, and sometimes don't understand the dynamics of governance or of democracy, the form of government we have. But many of them do understand people. Many of them understand relationships. Many of them understand vibes. And they can see, they can know, they can understand that Mr. Cummings is being persecuted. But we already, again, we just recently had some revelations, right, Moba, from people who
Yes.
were actually in the opposition. Martin Collet and George Wisner. And they said some revealing things. Were you able to listen to some of the stuff they said?
Yes, I listened to some of the things he said, particularly with the one that came from the Liberty Party SG, Martin Kohler. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
With Martin Kohler. Martin, according to what he said, when we came together, while we were, having our little internal strife from the beginning, they had this core team, and that was set up, and they were worried that if we were to go to primaries, Mr. Cummings was going to lose the primary, and he would, leave the collaboration, which would be the problem for them. So, as a strategy, they were looking for a means to keep Mr. Cummings in the opposition or in the CPP, even if he gets beaten at the CPP primary. That's how they concocted a plan to introduce the exit clause in the CPP framework document. They brought it up, and by the way, that's the truth. They were insistent that it gets in there because at a certain point they had this self-conceived notion that Walker will automatically win the CPP primary, and Mr. Cummings want to leave and probably not want to serve as vice president on Buckeye. So let's keep him here. But when it became increasingly clear that Mr. Cummings, would win the primary, that's when, all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
And Mr. Cummings are showing way more commitment to stay in the CPP than even Buckeye. So,
and if you notice, in the early wrangling situation of the CPP, probably like August, September, even Mo Ali was on air saying, "Oh, we'll never leave. We'll never leave the CPP. We're here to stay." They even asked him about black voting. He said black voting or no black voting, whatever. They were confident in, boycott. But then what happens? What happens? Why is Liberty Party leaving? They brought in the black voting, it failed. They really assumed this was a coronation. You see, people sometimes take people for granted. Sometimes they look at the person not making plenty noise. They're not rah-rah. They assume the person is soft or the person is weak. They don't understand what resilience is. You don't have to be a loud mouth to be resilient, to be strong, to stand by what you say. You just have to be persistent. You have to have that mindset that you persevere, that you are standing on principles, you are strong on what you stand on, and you are willing to take the hits based on what you believe. And Mr. Cummings was very clear. If we stay in this and Vice President Boyka wins, I will support him. Never once did Boyka ever utter that. Because the idea of him losing, once you feel like you're being coronated, you don't even envision the possibility of loss, and you don't even want to say it. And that's what has happened here. So there's some other things going on.
Just my final thoughts on that. The Unity Party and Buckeye successfully alienated a very.
And you are willing to take the hits based on what you believe. And Mr. Cummings was very clear. If we stay in this, and Vice President coming from, you are willing to take the hits based on what you believe.
I don't know what's happening. Was very clear. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Do you have something
Sorry,
playing? We're sorry,
sorry.
folks.
I was disrupted. But something I wanted to say before we close on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The UPN and Mr. Boakai was so focused on getting him coronated until they lost a great Liberian in Mr. Cummins. Now, God forbid, if we are going to the primary, Mr. Cummins lose, he was willing to support Joseph Boakai financially, morally, materially, in whatever way. He wasn't going to say, bye bye, I'm leaving, or let me take my ball and go. He was willing to stay in. I mean, how do you fight such a person and successfully alienate them? It's something that Buckeye that proves for me that Buckeye has no leadership experience whatsoever, and that 40 years, whatever they talk about, is immaterial to what we need for the presidency. Buckeye doesn't have what it takes. That was a
But
silly
another
move.
another thing some people raise, right?
Yeah.
In a hearing, Boyka says he can read the stuff from WhatsApp.
Imagine that, and you want to have such a man as president in this day and age.
So we're trying to move into the 21st century and bring all Liberians behind us. And then we got one of our quote unquote key leaders talking about the primary means of communication today is not one that he can use after he has been seen using it, you know. So maybe that the people who sitting by him can sign on for him and click on this and click on that. But regardless, is his identification, his profile that is being used, that people see are responding to those different messages, that people see are opening documents, you know. But either way, it has to be clear to people that Joseph Boyka just does not have it. You know, maybe there could have been a time when he did, but we are at this stage, the heavy lifting that's needed for Liberia. And you guys hear me with George Famulette. For government to work, government must work. And if we can't do that work, no development will happen. It will pass us by. This generation we have, even more about your generation, is going to pass us by, all of us. Because when we are not committed to what we say, we are willing to shift based on the emotions of people or the influences in the market and not stick with our principles. That's what happens. And just imagine, you know, I want to get off this, but just Brecker was even encouraging Mr. Cummings, oh, just take responsibility. When has he taken responsibility for anything? He said you were going to bring the CPP together. He came in and basically destroyed the CPP in his leadership. But he's telling somebody else to take responsibility. Where is your level of responsibility? You know? But like I said, it's not time to get heated yet. We stay friends.
I'm from Lofa County, so I should ask him, what is his responsibility, even to Lofa County? What has he done for Lofa? What is his impact? How many sons and daughters of Lofa has Buckeye, empowered education-wise? How many presidents are on Buckeye scholarship? How many schools he has in Lofa County? Look, let's not waste our time.
Right.
Let's move on.
Okay, so there's this issue of the road fund. I don't know if you heard about it, Moba, but it was supposed to be $53 million collected 18, 19, 19, 20 fiscal years for the road fund. Unfortunately, only 28 million out of that 25 million was actually given to the road fund team to do the work they need to do. And as usual, the government kept 25 million. I didn't listen to the program, but the Controller General of the Republic of Liberia, Jangako, was on Spoon. And he supposedly said that the government used 7 million. 7 million. For what purpose? They say supposedly to pay salaries. So they keep claiming that this is the most successful revenue generation era in the Republic of Liberia. But yet, the purposes of which monies are allocated, whether it's our own money, whether it's our international partners' money, this government misuses it. I mean, with no sense of remorse or no consciousness of what the impact is downstream of using monies in the wrong way. So it's something that really needs to be looked at. But will it be another situation where it will be after 2 3 weeks or probably after a few days it will take the backseat? This is a clear audit that shows this.
Look, unfortunately, no matter how we want some uh, prosecution or people to be held accountable for, again, redirecting or misdirecting public funds, nothing will happen. Some of these star projects of Mr. We should be asking questions. Take, for example, they they much talked about Invincible Pack. Where did they really get the funds from to build the pack, right? Up to today, that's still shrouded in misery. Mr. We come and say, yeah, NPA girls of money, NASCO girls of money, whatsoever. But there's no accountability. This is not the first time they're taking or misdirecting money. They say redirect, but I'll say misdirect. The monies have been taken. There's no accountability around it. The processes are not even being followed. And then nobody will be held accountable. There will be noise all over the place. But if the biggest hand in our country is involved, I mean, nothing much will happen. All the people involved will walk out free. And by the way, this road funding, its generation is one of the reasons why we are paying way more for gasoline and diesel or for fuel in Liberia than any other country in the sub-region. Because every gallon you get, you contribute to the road fund. So we are all paying this money. So it's affecting every Liberian citizen. Unfortunately, what the benefits we should accrue from it are not going to come because there is a pipe somewhere through which the resources are being siphoned and nothing will happen. I haven't really read the report in detail. I will do that so I can have a more insightful, analysis about it. But on a general outlook, I can assure you that nothing will happen. There will just be noise and public outcry. Nobody will get dismissed. Maybe the president will take some political action and cover investigation, and then that'll be it.
It was very clear, in terms of where um Boniface Satu or some representative from the Road Fund, they said it. The law, the law is very clear. The law says that the Road Fund, the money from it should be like taken directly, straight. They shouldn't waste time. No stop and go. It should be sent straight to the Road Fund. So let me share that so people can understand why this is an issue. Let me share my screen so people can see it. It's not me. It's directly from the budget. Mobile, you can feel free to read it.
Yeah, sure.
This is one of the fiscal measures. When a budget is created, there are several measures that are delineated as the fiscal measures that they will take to ensure that they can try to meet the standard or the requirements or whatever the law is that comes out of the budget. So go ahead. You can see it?
Yes. Okay. So it say that all the revenue collected from the road fund shall be remitted
right
to the road authority by the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning as collected, while 3% of said fund shall be given to the Ministry of Public Works for the effective monitoring of all road projects and 2.5% for the administration of the Road Fund Authority.
Wonderful. So they have a secretariat for the road fund that's supposed to handle that. So that administration fee is for them to run it. Then the 3% is for public works because you need monitoring and evaluation on all projects. Even though we don't do it successfully because I'm a certified project manager, I understand that. And we know a lot of projects in Liberia fail The key attributes, the quality of the project most times is under the level that was set in the requirements. The completion time is usually, delayed. So a lot of factors in effective project management are missing when it comes to projects in Liberia. But that's a different discussion for another day. For today, we're looking at this year. So all of that, 94.5% should go directly to the road fund. It should not be commingled with the consolidated fund or anything like that. Once collected, it should be sent to the road fund account. And Boniface Satu, who is the head of the road fund, he was very clear that they had engaged the Ministry of Finance about this, but the ministry was not forthcoming. They were not clear as to why they were not giving the money to the road fund. So it just
somebody redirected the funds.
Yes, because Janga said at least we know that 7 million was used for salaries. So what happened with the other money? What happened with the other money?
I mean, so out of the $53 million, whatever amount they took was 28 million.
25. The people say they like 25 million, so they took 25. 25 million is a symbol.
And that has come out. It's been days almost, and then the president hasn't said or done anything. Tell me we have a serious government in power. Tell me if Nigeria is going to ever get serious about governing or running this country.
The only thing,
and give you a reason why people should keep such a man in power for a day.
That people who really don't care for the future, and sometimes it's about people not knowing better. Sometimes it's about idol worship, maybe, and sometimes it probably is about fear of the unknown, because a lot of people are really, really not exposed. When you are born into certain situations and you don't have any other exposure or understanding of how things work outside of your daily grind, where what's standard for you is, I wake up, I don't even know how we eat today. I wake up, I don't know if I'll even charge my phone. So the level of uncertainty in most of our people's lives is so strong that sometimes they don't know anything else. And once people don't have that exposure, that understanding of what the alternatives are, what's better for them, how can they do something different? It's really difficult for them to do something different. So the responsibility is on us to really help. I know some people are frustrated, some people are tired, some people don't want to deal with the level of insults or other things that happen when they try to engage people positively. But we who want difference, we got to toughen our skin. We got to toughen our skin. And
talking about toughening our skin, it's never going to be easy to wrestle power out of the hands of people who have no other means of survival, no other means of living. Take a look at the officials of the CDC-led government. How many of them can survive in competitive environments? How many of them can survive? This is monitored by the car. Alarm in the car. That's so getting power from the hands of these people is not going to be easy. They're going to fight for it because it's a situation of life and death for them. Because without Mr. Weah, an incompetent president in power, they too will not, as incompetent as they are, would not be able to compete in any competitive environment. And one of the reasons why I see people are challenging Mr. Cummings this much is that he has placed premium on competence.
And that's a
You're
fact.
not just going to come and anytime Dick and Harry just going to be running things anywhere. If someone asking you a question, you got to come with some understanding. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. And that's, by the way, that's how government should be. But the measure at which we have government officials in power is who has the loudest muya muya, who shouts the loudest battle cry. It's about what you contribute. There's no performance measurement. And there's no performance in desk, even in the president's office. President is that taking record of how many ministers are performing monthly? What are they doing? What are they achieving? I mean, their targets. The government has no target for the entire duration of Joshua's presidency. There's no target whatsoever. So they do not have a picture of where they want to take Liberia at the end of 2023. So if we will allow these people to say, oh, they're coming against us viciously, they're attacking us or whatsoever, and we have tough skins, I mean, we'll keep our country backward. And being out of Liberia is not an excuse. You can say, oh, I'm out of the country, they lie, that is spotty, they fix it, it doesn't affect me. No, that's not true. You have families here. You are a Liberian no matter how many country citizenship you take. You always be a Liberian. You cannot divorce yourself from that.
That's another story we gotta deal with. That's another story, that dual citizenship. But let me share with people what Frederick Douglass says, okay? And it's important for people to understand that. I mean, and part of this is for us to really expose people to some of the different things out there so they can understand some of the mindsets that we are dealing with. So Frederick Douglass says, power conceals nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue till they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. So right now, we see how afraid people are. The mysterious killings, the impunity, all of those things intimidate people. So the power that these guys hold over us today, and they are just wielding without any sense of consideration that there are other human beings called Liberians. They're just doing whatever they want to do. And many people, because of their survivability, how close it is to them not even being able to drink water. So they just subject themselves to that misery, to that injustice, to the wrongs that have been imposed upon them. This government will continue to do so. At some point, people have to stand, and they got democratic tools. I'm not with the blows thing, but in situations where civil disobedience is not being respected and the police and other people use unnecessary force, then maybe that can come to blows. But other than that,
I mean, with the blows thing, when we became an independent state in 1847, the people endured marginalization, abuse, corruption for 133 years. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, they stood up on April 12th, and then you saw what came down. 133 years it took us to stand up. And at that stage, it didn't really matter who was being killed. It didn't really matter how many presidents died. They just wanted to get rid of it. At a certain point, with Mr. We are in power, it happens. And by the way, no one is saying people should come out and stand up. But look, if the abuse continues, if people continue to die mysteriously and there's no accountability whatsoever, then society will get tired. It will come out. You don't have to wish for it. You don't have to pray for it. You don't even have to be scared for it. It will happen eventually if things do not change. I mean, you consider people to be timid. You say, oh, Liberians are timid, they are afraid. You even say they are cowards, but that's not true. If these material, contradictions continue in the society, there will come a stage where people will be willing to risk their lives. People will stand up. You can even bring tear gas and bring all the USA trained Marines and whatsoever. The people will not care. People in Egypt, I mean, we've seen how revolutions have happened around the world. People in Egypt, when they were tired, they just gathered in the Tahrir Square. You imagine, people just amassed in that square with all the military hardware, who's the Mubarak brought out. Did they leave? The people were being arrested. You know, they have secret agents picking up people, jailing people, killing people, trying to instill more fear in people. There is a certain stage he must can reach when the collective suffering of the people, you know, push them to the brink. They will rise up. It doesn't matter how many people you will kill, how many people you will arrest. They will not care anymore. They will just be focused on getting you out of power. And we will reach at that stage. Either by the way, by the balance. So one of the things that is blessing this government is that people are just waiting for 2023 and say, oh, let's get rid of this thing, right? At the end of the 2023. So but when 2023 comes, God forbid, and they were to say, oh, let's continue. I mean, there will be a rule awakening. You can't pretend about it.
No, you are very correct. You are not wrong. And just you speaking, the passion with which you're speaking is just like giving me chill bumps here. But to just reinforce your point, like we say, we are here to educate and try to help our people. What is the first article in our Constitution? All power is inherent in the people. All free governments are instituted by the authority and for the benefit. So listen, the free government is instituted by the people's authority and for the benefit of the people. And they have the right to alter and reform the same, meaning that government, when there's safety. Yeah, you hear the first word, safety and happiness so require. Let me read it again. All power is inherent in the people. All free governments are instituted by the authority and for the benefit, and they have the right to alter and reform the same when their safety and happiness so require. In order to ensure democratic government which responds to the wishes of the governed, again, you're listening. In order to ensure democratic government which responds to the wishes of the governed is supposed to respond to the wishes of the people. Today, our people have basic wishes, the primal, the lowest floor of the hierarchy of needs that where our people are: shelter, food, clothing, the basics,
security,
healthcare. That's all they're asking for. The people shall have the right at such period and in such manner as provided for under this Constitution to cause the public servants to leave office and to fill vacancies by regular elections and appointments. So the people do have a right, but it's about them understanding that right. It's about them exercising that right. That's why I'm very happy that civics is in school, that more of our young people can start to understand what governance is, what's in the Constitution, what's expected of them as responsible citizens. Those are all very important attributes of the learning process as a citizen that helps us to get to where we're supposed to get to. So it's very critical. At this point, more Liberians, by association, will assimilate some of the lessons in those civics, because I know when those children come home, they will share some things with their parents. They will want them involved, and that's how the learning really takes. That's where the Renaissance and Revolution can come from. Our young people, they will be able to tell their mom and pop, because with literature, young people, they tell you the truth. 99% of the time, it's just that for our society right now, we now pollute the young people. They see the corruption in the society too quickly. They don't bring change to you. All the little small content, all the literature inside right now. But we still need to change the generation because they're young enough to learn. So that's why teaching them civics, teach them responsible citizenship, letting them understand conflict resolution, that this post-traumatic stress disorder that most of us suffer from, that we feel the only way to resolve a situation is for us to fight, for us to dominate somebody. We can come to a meaningful discussion and reasonable conclusion, even when we have dissenting opinions or diverse views on issues. We should be able to do that. And hopefully we can rise and get to that point and try to encourage each other to learn, to be open to new information and learning, because that's what this is about. You know, that's what this whole democracy that we say we are under is about. Let the better idea win. So for those who listen, who feel you always got the best idea, no way. Other people got great ideas too. And you got to be tolerant enough to listen to their side of the story and to understand them for us to be able to coexist and move forward. So, Moba, what do you think about civics in schools?
Absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, because it's so bad in our society where people think you should not even question the president. I mean, you should not demand more of your government. They feel as though even questioning some of the things the government do, you are doing the wrong thing, right? And I think it's a strategy that has been deployed by past governments, and it's the same thing the CDC government is doing. They make it look as though we shouldn't. The president is not accountable to us. The president does not work for us. But if you teach the people to be responsible enough, they will demand more of the government. And if we educate our people to that level, they by themselves, when they go into the ballot, they want to vote better leaders.
And that's why I
No,
do Moba. I don't tell people say go vote for Mr. Cummings or go vote for this. No, I tell them the rights, I tell them the issues, and I tell them the conditions, and let them weigh it. I love for people to have their own ability to think critically and to make key decisions. When they arrive at those decisions as an individual, they feel so much happier about themselves, especially when it's right. So a
yes,
lot of times people won't just tell people, yes, the people know better. But if we can coach our people to understand the pros and the cons, to understand what democracy is, to understand what the qualities of leadership should be, to understand what the social contract is between the state and them, like this pittance of county development fund and county social development fund that these governments, this and the previous government has given our people. That's why we see no development in the counties. That's why we
no
see
impact.
no, it can impact you because the first thing, if they get that 200,000, they turn it back. Wherever those county officials divide our money or do it, the central government doesn't care. No accountability. So it just all around is a like suppressive kind of force that is resisting any possibility of improvement in the lives of our people. And it can't
Yeah.
continue. We have to make every effort to enlighten our people and move them in a direction where they themselves can control their futures and be decision makers. So,
And let us know that this agreement is one of the bedrocks of our democracy. Very important. We may disagree, but that doesn't mean we are enemies. I mean, we don't have to all agree. I see that Mr. Cummings is the person to be president of this country. If you see it otherwise, well, that's fine, right? I respect your view. You should just respect mine. But people don't even know that. They are so intolerant.
very,
Sometimes people they will literally come at you and insult you and want to fight you physically. I mean, they
and
put you even at
that's we have to keep educating people. That's what democracy is about. It's about choice. You being able to make your decision. It's about being tolerant, letting other people have their views. You don't have to agree with them. Sometimes you guys can agree to disagree, or sometimes you guys can work and see how you can harmonize your disagreement and come to somewhere where there's a happy medium of existence, or there's one side or another side position is the agreed on position. That happens too.
yeah.
So, for all those listening out there who are just like very, very quick to insult, not that other people can insult, but everybody don't feel that is the way to go, to just be insulting each other. That way, nothing happens, nothing gets done because people get feelings, get hurt. Many people are sensitive. You tell them one word, sometimes they carry it in the heart for days, for months, sometimes for years. But we can't be like that. We got to be able to move forward. We got to be able to have hardened skins and take some of the hits, take some of the beatings that come from other people, and be able to move this country forward.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if we don't do that, we're not going to hold our own governments accountable, and we will
No,
not
no,
ask.
no, that, no, that.
We deserve better. Let me put this comments: Liberians deserve better, and we have to ask for it. We have to fight for it. We have to stand up for it. We have to vote for it. We have to be in the rain and in the sun. We have to hunger for it. We have to thirst for it. Whatever it takes to change our country, we have to do it. It's not going to be easy. We're not going to go there in one stride. It's not going to be by one road, but we can get there and we will get there. Heaven knows how we'll get there. But it starts with everyone in our
Simple.
individual homes, in our individual families, with our sons, with our daughters, our relatives. You can be anywhere and talk to people. I mean, encourage our people, be tolerant, accept change. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you get frustrated just talking to some people. I mean, you see someone living in poverty and you're telling them this is not the way you have to live. This is not what it has to be for you. It can be different. And they tell you, no, I'm satisfied where I am. Sometimes you get hurt just listening to such a thing. But you cannot give up. You cannot give in. Because the people that want to keep our country at the stage it is, they are way more determined. So our determination should be better, stronger than those who are bent on keeping our country down and keeping our people suffering forever.
Right. So we have a very interesting point here from MT for White. He said, do you guys still think people in Liberia have never heard about their role in holding leadership accountable? It's like talking to teenagers. They know everything but the right thing. They accept everything but the right thing. Too sad. I sincerely hope the message of change is sinking in. Feels like an abyss of emptiness. You know, Mr. White, I understand where you're coming from, and I know it's very difficult, but there's, I can't remember the syndrome name, but it will come to me, in a little bit. Where when people have been abused for so long or being conditioned in certain way for so long, they don't see anything else. And that's what's happening with a lot of our people. They have been beat down. They have been abused. Their representatives, their senators, their superintendents, their leaders, their district leaders have all failed them in so many different ways and so many times over and over. They come and make promises and they fail them. So many of them will quicker take that election dollar, that $10, $20 vote for me. And you see, the funny thing is, the careful thing, you see, sometimes we gotta look at things culturally. Because many of our people, when they eat from you, yes, there are some ungrateful people who will do differently. But the majority of them are good people. If they eat your money, will not betray you. Most time they eat that money and they will go vote for you. They will not necessarily vote for you when you just do things for them. But when you get that specific money, to say the money here is for you to vote for me, when they take that money from you, most times they will hold on to that thing and vote for you. So that's why the election money sometimes can sway elections. That's why you see a lot of lawmakers some of them will not even campaign. Some of them not even do stuff. They will just wait until election time and pay the people and use that as a careful in the mindset of the people. And the people don't know that money, that the money. So we got to educate them. We got to let them understand the difference in lifestyles that some of these people come with, where they were before, and how quickly they have arrived to a different location, a different point in luxury, in affluence. So we just have to be patient. I know for me personally, I say after 2024, I'm done. We got one. Enjoy myself, live it. Because we'll be
I'll be beginning at the time. I mean.
Yes. And we'll be there to support and get your backing, but we'll not be as active in the forefront, as we have, because other people are demanding our time, other things are demanding our time, and sometimes you just have to go in different direction. But it has been a wonderful journey in trying to get to the Liberian people, trying to bring change, trying to do different things. And some people it resonates with, but for many, unfortunately, Mr. White, it's difficult for them to get it, and this Maxwell Cover guy makes a point. It's about exposure. When more people, he said the reason why our people are afraid of change is because they have not enjoyed what better life is. And that's a fact. They have no point of reference. to aspire to. I mean, most of our young people, there's no counseling in school. How do people decide what major to take? Take for me, for example, I wanted to be a doctor. But when I went Cottington, my first semester to register, I wanted to play soccer too. All my courses were in the afternoon. The science courses, the lab courses were in the afternoon. I said, shoot, let me just go to economics. Yeah. And I changed my major. So it's just about that counseling. If I had a counselor who had been able to counsel me and tell me, look, your priority is your education. Don't shift because of the XYZ. I'll be better. Look, our kids are smart. Look at all the Liberian kids that are graduating this vacation, this graduation season, especially. I know we probably have been ignoring some of them. But serious degrees these young people are getting in very difficult disciplines. They are getting degree. So it's not like we're not smart people. And many Liberians, when you give them the opportunity to come outside Liberia, even those ones that are behind from an academic standpoint or from an age group with their peers, they try to catch up and try to be successful. Yes, many come here and get full with the lay, 10 hour, 20 hour per hour job that they can do, and then they sway, deviate from where they're supposed to be, they focus. But many of our people are extremely smart. We are capable people. We can understand. We can do things. But when those people come out, our people on the ground want to congest the space, contract it to limit the opportunities. And then some of those who are not as competent, they jump in and act like they've been there forever and try to even further contract the space. So we got to tell our people that the opportunity is there for the children and for them to be better. And for me, at this point, they got to look at the message and the vision these political leaders are bringing to them. Who has the experience? Who has the exposure? Who has done in a technical way the things that they say they want to do? Who has done it? Who has produced results? Who has been in an accountability system that demanded performance or they will not go? Look, I don't know if people know, but there's something called a glass ceiling in America here. And as a Black person, I don't care how good you are, if you're in institutions or organizations that really enforce that ceiling, you're here with but that ceiling the whole time. You cannot rise above director to vice president to wherever. So that's just the fact. We got to keep talking to our people that they can make the difference. Like Dwalu said just now, nothing changes unless the people force the issue. There is no other way. That's very similar to what Frederick Douglass said, that power will not concede. If we wait for this government to concede, nothing will happen. The people have to rise up. They got to use the democratic means. They got to start to enlighten themselves and understand. You over there listening and other people would need to take that responsibility to educate our brothers and sisters. Then we got to push them to register to vote. Then we got to push them to come to the polls and vote. They got to vote for change. Our young people. Look, right now, Africa is on the move. But our poor little country that has so many resources, that really, if we utilize our resources effectively, every Liberian can be comfortable. Every Liberian can be comfortable for what we have. Yeah. But unfortunately, we got greedy people. They want to take everything and they don't want to expand the pie. You cannot do that. The wider the pie, the more churn and turn over the economy, there will be more for you to steal. And it will not even be missed because there will be excess. We have so many untapped productive areas that can turn our country around in a short amount of time. But it takes commitment. It will take drive. It will take people who want to do the heavy lifting. It will take people who will sacrifice and say, look, let's put in these systems. I know I will eat dry for the next month. But while eating that dry, we're building something that will be able to have palm butter, jollof rice, anything over the next period of time. So it takes time. It takes time. We got to be patient, but we got to work to get to where we want to get to. Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's so it.
Is there
basically
any other
summarize.
key story? Huh?
eh, Come in there, you're saying.
No, I'm gonna ask you, is there any other key story you want to touch on?
Ah, man. Well, I have to run, but I
No, yeah,
think
we got 1 hour. I just wanted to get your closing and stuff, you know.
you basically summarized everything, and I mean, I also wanted to just stress the fact that we need leaders who have the discipline, determination, and honesty. I mean, recently with Bakai testimony in the CPP case, where he was using the very WhatsApp chat room to, for major communication, and then he goes to the court and says he told people that WhatsApp was not good, so he could not use it for communication. When he used that very medium, to call for CPP meetings, and send very important messages. I mean, that's dishonesty to the core. We don't want that. I mean, in the executive mansion. And I don't. We can just settle for anything because we want we are out so much. If we can just get we are out and put any other person there, it has to be someone who has some measure and some determination to remain true to what they are publicly and privately. One of our greatest curse in this country is the fact that we have had leaders who have double lives. In public, they say one thing; in private, they do something totally and completely different. In public, they live a certain way. In private, they live something totally and completely different. I mean, people who have double face. So that has been one of our, greatest problems. So we can have people who we create a picture of, a picture that they are not, that they do not represent. Most times people say Baka is an honest man, whatsoever. But fucking Baka just went to court. He lied. Now, by the way, when Mr. Cummings' trial come to end, don't be surprised. The government can come after Baka for perjury. I mean, and people say, "Oh, government come after him," but finally, just when he put himself inside. So look, as a while we try to replace Mr. Weir, while we try to educate our people, we have to give them, lay the basis down by themselves. Look, if you tell the people 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are steps you should take to identify a good leader, by default, they will pick who is the best person to lead this country right now. You don't have
I
to call a
believe
name.
so. If we enlighten our
You don't have
people,
to
they
call
will
a
do that. But more about one
Yeah.
thing we forgot though. I
Mm.
don't think a lot of people really know Mrs. Cummings. What do you think?
Oh yes, a lot of people do not. And she preached just this on Sunday at the Freedom Worship Center. I
Right.
was there in attendance, and she listed 15 women from the Bible, and she discussed their lives, their relationships, their husbands, and lay
Excuse my dog, yeah.
he tried to lay out the determination and the fortitude of these women and the contributions these women made to society and to the lives of their husbands. I mean, for me, she showed a whole different side of her, because I'm fortunate to know her way more than a lot of people. But I mean, I saw her trying to preach the Bible. And I realized why Mr. Cummings always credits his wife for being the kind of successful man he is. Because, by the way, he has always had his wife with him wherever he moved to. Even in Liberia, I mean, she lives here. She's always there.
Mama,
Always been involved with his life. Even at the office, she's involved. She comes at the office, make sure everything is okay. As far as we concern, things are okay. But this woman walks in here, she wants to make sure that everything is just okay. Even if it's just a check on Mr. Cummings, I mean, and she shows a very good example. And by the way, we need to try to take some time to really discuss her and try to get her out there to the public so people can get to understand a different side of
Mama, that
this.
fight, a different fight. I will leave it with you. I've been fighting for day one. So let me tell you, in regular conversation with Mrs. Cummings, the power in her voice doesn't really come out, right? But it seems like she transformed when she's speaking in the public. Because I was
Yes.
shocked in Houston one time when Mrs. Cummings took the mic. And when she started talking, the power in her voice, the way she can hold the audience and everything, I was like, wow, this is a secret weapon that Mr. Cummings
Yeah.
had that he needs to do more. I really believe that if she's unleashed, she can really get with the Liberian women because people may not notice it. A lot of Liberian women have kind of taken a step back in terms of their involvement in where our country is going. And that's why her message to them, they should use their skills and talents. And part of the natural talent of women is controlling men and controlling children. And if they can use those talents, if they can start to identify who they think is the better leader, the women, they are able to influence their families and influence their friends to be able to jump on board. So that's a demographic that I believe Mrs. Cummings can really revive and give them that inspiration to do certain things, because she'll be a great role model to many of them. She's comfortable interacting with people. So it'll be a great thing if, we really look at that and try to convince them that she should get out there more. Yes, there will be the insult. Yes, there will be some nonsense thrown her way. But that's just part of this process that, we are in, and we have to accept. Not everybody is mature enough. Not everybody is emotionally controlled to be able to handle the disagreement and other stuff. So let's just continue to work on it. But I will put you in front so you can be the one pushing it. All right, folks. I think we had a wonderful hour. Thank you. We want to say thank you to those who stayed and listened. We share this to the wider public because a lot of people at this time probably are not privy or not able to watch the show. They'll watch at a different time. But hopefully very soon we'll be coming on the radio in Liberia. And again, this is the Weekend Review, where we bring you exclusive stuff. We try to go through the different news items, the top issues, and induce and inflect and infuse some of our own thoughts on some of what we are thinking, what's the best way for us to do certain things. So this will be a continuous process. As you know, on Wednesday, we also have Reimagine, Rebuild, Restart Liberia, where we will be able to, see how do we pick up, because we say the system broken. So we are touching on different areas and how those areas can be improved and what the fundamental things are. So that's on Wednesday with George Famule. It's like 1 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Liberia time, and 10 o'clock on the West Coast in the US here. So thank you for listening. Moba, if you want to say anything, you can say otherwise.
Let me thank all of the viewers and commenters. It's been great engaging with you. We cannot give up on Liberia. This race is not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. Sometimes we feel like giving up. Sometimes we would not want to take the insults or whatever, but we have to stay the course. We have to remain committed to changing our country. We cannot allow people who are determined to keep us stagnated to win. I mean, our determination is just, it's good. So at all costs, no matter how long it takes, our will prevail over those of our fellow Liberians who have very, very, very bad will towards our country. But until next time, it's been really good engaging with all of you. I guess I'm kind of trying to get a little bit more fiery.
It will build up. It will build up. It will come.
Eventually. But it's been good, engaging everyone. So thanks. We'll see you again Friday.
Okay. I will share the YouTube link, Siata. Sorry you came late, but we're out of here. Thank you, folks. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. We hope to see you next week. Peace.
All right.